Okay, class, today we're going to look at the fourth and final video on sentence structures. So we started with this idea of the four types of sentences and the idea of simple predicate and simple subject. Then we moved on to dependent and independent clauses. And then yesterday we did the more complex, which was the idea of the simple, compound, complex, and then compound, complex types of sentences. Now we're going to look at this idea of fragments and run-ons. This hopefully is a review, so hopefully this should go pretty quick, and this video should be shorter than previous videos this week. So first of all, we're looking at this idea of a sentence versus a fragment. A complete sentence has a subject and a verb. Okay, now a fragment is missing a subject or a verb. Okay, so that's why it's not a complete sentence. That's why it's a fragment. So what we're looking at here is I have a couple of sentences here, and I want you to write down the sentences, and then I want you to label each of them as a sentence or a fragment. Okay, it might help if you underline the subjects and the verbs so that you get used to that and you see what's missing. And then you need to think about why is it a fragment? What is it missing? Okay, so I want you to write down these four sentences in your notes, and I want you to label them as a fragment or as a sentence. And then when we come back in a moment, I'm going to actually explain each one so that you have it. So go ahead and pause it and take care of it that way, okay? Okay, now that you've written them down, looking at the answers here, I've gotten my pen out. So we're looking at the sentences themselves. So the first one, running for the bus that was turning the corner. Now we're looking for subjects and verbs. The sentence starts with running. Running is a verb, so I'm going to underline it twice. But I don't have a subject before it because sentences normally go subject verb. So this one I would label as a fragment. Okay, for the bus was turning, that again is this is missing the information. Okay, number two, walking to the park in the afternoon is fun. Okay, so we have some prepositions in here, walking to the park or to the park in the afternoon. So if we take out those, it's actually easier to find the subject and the verb. So walking is actually our subject and is our verb. So walking, even though it's in what looks like a verb form, verbs can act as nouns. And in this case, it's the idea of walking. So this one is a sentence, so I would label it with an S. Number three, that we had a good idea for the convention that was to be held in Houston, Texas next month. Now, the we and the had are subjects and verbs, but there's a problem here. We have the that. That is a subordinating conjunction. So what here looks like a complete sentence because it has a subject and verb, it's actually not because it's a dependent clause, so it needs more information. So I would label this as a fragment. Okay, the next one, number four, as mentioned in the preceding letter, we will send you a draft of this year's report. This is a complete sentence. It has a subject, it has a verb, it has the ideas of what's being added to it and the proper joiners. So this one I would label as a sentence. Okay, there are fragments on the worksheet tonight, so making sure that you're paying attention to it. It's one page of the worksheet. Okay, so this one is run-on sentences. Run-on sentence is the idea that it has too much, or it just keeps continuing. It has incorrect punctuation. When you're writing these down, I want you to write down the three like we did before, but I want you to label it as RO for run-on or C for complete sentence. Now, and then looking at the idea of how would you fix it. Okay, so go ahead and pause for a moment and write these in your notes, and then I'll be back in a moment and we'll go over each one. Okay, so looking at the first one, Reggie is a licensed attorney. He has chosen to devote his life to his first love, teaching. Now, if we're looking for subjects and verbs, so we have subject, we have verb. We have subject, we have verb. Now, there's something missing here because yes, there are two independent clauses. So yes, they need to be joined, but they're not joined properly. So it just continues. So here in between the two, we need to put something to join them. Your options are a comma, a semicolon, or a comma and something from Fanned Boys. Okay, so you could do something like an and, a comma and an and. So those would be your three options. All three are correct, but it's just the idea that you need to join the two independent clauses properly. Okay, penguins are amusing and interesting birds. Their natural habitat is the Arctic. Okay, so this one, so if we underline subjects and verbs, actually it should just be are that's underlined, not amusing. So let me fix that really quick. Okay, back to pen. Are interesting birds. Their natural habitat is the Antarctic. So habitat is your subject, is your verb. And again, penguins are amusing, interesting birds, their natural habitat. So here, in between the two clauses, we need another joiner. Okay, so the joiner could be the same thing aspect that it is here. Okay, because it is two independents. Okay, the last one. We had an offer, they rejected it. Now, again, looking for subjects and verbs. We have two sets of subjects and verbs. This one, again, looking at the idea of how they join it. So this, though, I would use a but they rejected it instead of an and they rejected it, or a yet. So it sends something a little bit more on the negative side so it fits in there properly. Okay, so your homework tonight is your worksheet that I gave in class today. Half of it is on fragments, half of it is on run-on sentences. The short video, and starting to prepare and plan for the test, which will happen on Tuesday. Tomorrow there might be a little, surprise in class, but you never know what happens with that. So have a good night, and and by the way, if you take a picture of your homework and you send it to me tonight before midnight, I might be willing to give you some extra credit, but I'm not going to tell you about this in class. So hopefully you watched all the way to the end of the video and you do what's asked, and I'll give you some extra credit. Talk to you later. Bye. But again, before midnight. Bye.